Right, now let's try to solve example 11. For this question, you're supposed to find the float time for the activity listed below here. So let's look at the first one. The float time for F will be, let's look at float time for F. F activity, look at the direction. So this is the ending activity, 43, minus the start of the activity 5, which is 32, and then I minus the time of the activity F, which is 5. So you have 37, you have 6. What is the unit of the questions here? It is in days. So that's the first answer. Let's look at the next one. You're supposed to find the float time for D. Where is the D activity? So D activity, the arrow is from left to right. Again, look for the LST value here, which is 42, minus the start of the activity for D, which is 32, and the activity time for D, which is 8. And you have 2 days, right? And let's look at the next one, which is the float time for G. What is the G activities? The G activity is actually here. So the arrow again is from left to right. Let's look at the ending activity G, the LST value, which is 45, minus the start of the activity G, the EST value, which is 37. And I minus the time of activity G, which is 2. And the answer here will be 6 days. Let's continue with the float time. For now, the activity I. Where is the activity I? Is actually here. So this is the ending of activity I. The LST value here is 45, minus the start of the activity I, which is here, 37. And what about activity I time? Is 2. Right, so you have 6 days as the float time for activity I. Let's look at the last one here. What about the float time for E? Activity E. So again, look for the arrow. LST for the activity ending activity E will be 34 minus the starting time EST of the starting time for activity E, which is 32. And I minus the time for activity E, which is 2. And you end up with 0 day, right? So what do you find from this question here? Where is your critical activity? Here, you know, the critical activity will always have 0 day. This is your critical activities. Whereas the rest here is actually what you know as non-critical activities. Because if you look at the value here, you can actually see, right? Only this activity, which is activity E. E here, where is your activity E? Activity E here, you have all the EST value and LST value the same. So therefore, this is what we call as critical activities. Whereas the rest, you don't have all the same, the one that you have counted so far. Now let's try to solve example 12. The information given here, the time, the unit here, is actually in days. So you are supposed to find the critical path for the first part. And the second part, they say extra resources are employed so that the time required to complete each activity A and C here is reduced by 3 days. Okay, and from there on, you have to find the critical path and project completion time. Now let's start with the first one. Okay, right. How are we going to find the critical path? Before you do that, you have to find the EST and the LST value. So I'm going to draw the note here, or you can draw box, up to you. So I'll start with the start of the activity is always the EST value is 0. And 0 plus 6 is 6 here because you have more than one path. So 0 plus 5 is 5. So for EST value, you always go for the highest value. In this case is 6. So 6 plus 8, you have 14. And then you have 6 plus 6 is 12. So between these two, which one would you have chosen? So I'll go for the higher value for EST. So it's 14. Now let's backtrace to look for the LST value. Same value, bring down 14. So 14 minus 8, have 6. So 14 minus 6, you have 8. Then for LST value, you always go for the lowest value. So I bring in the lowest value here. And again, 6 minus 6, you have 0. And you have 6 minus 5 is 1. Again, between these two for LST root, you look for the smallest value. So in this case, I have the same values as the starting point here, EST, which is 0. That means from here, I can find my critical path as this root, right? And 6 here, 6 plus 8 here. So what is the critical path? Your critical path is A, C. Okay, now let's look at the next part of the questions here. Okay, they say extra resources is actually reduced for activity A and C. So I'll just redraw the network. So this is the start. This is B5. C activities will be reduced from 8 by 3 days, then it will become 5. So this is C, become 5. Okay, A, there's also reduction of 3 days, it will become 3. Okay, then we look at the next one here. So this is D. Is D affected? No, D is not affected. So the one that is affected is A and C. So initially A is 6, now it becomes 3. C initially is 8, again reduced by 3, it becomes 5. Okay, so same process, I'm going to find the critical path. So I'll start with 0. 0 plus 3 is 3 here. So 0 plus 5 is 5. So for EST, I always go for the highest value. So it's 5. Okay, so 5 plus 5 is 10. 5 plus 6 is 11. Which value would I go for? I go for 11. Okay, so for LST, bring down the same value as your EST and then go backward. So 11 minus 5 for the activity C, you end up with 6. Okay, 11 minus 6, you end up with 5. So 6 and 5, for LST comparison, I always go for the lowest value. So this is 5. Okay, 5 minus 3, I end up with 2. So 5 minus 5, I end up with 0. So between this, which one would I go for? 0. Right, now let's try to find what is the critical path. So I can do from backward. So where does the 11 come from? Come from here. And where does the 5 come here? So from here, I can see easily what would be the critical path for the revised network. So it will be critical path here will be B and D. And what would be the project completion time? The project completion time now will be instead 11